guys, and welcome to your 2-Minute Money Manager. I'm your host, Stacy Johnson, and this answer is brought to you by MoneyTalksNews.com, serving up the best in personal finance news and advice since 1991. Today's question comes to us from Heather. Heather says, what's a good way to pay back a loan from friends or family? Obviously, they don't charge interest, but in how much time should the money be returned, and how much should be paid every month? Well, Heather, I've covered this issue in various ways before, but I don't have any problem taking another run at it. Let's talk about borrowing from friends and family the correct way. Now, the first thing I want to say is borrowing from or lending to friends and family is one of the most effective ways for you to destroy your relationships. Thus, it should always be kept to an absolute minimum. Life being what it is, however, sooner or later, we're all likely to be on one side or the other of these types of transactions. So, how are we going to do it right? Well, here's some advice. Now, this advice is going to apply to borrowing a significant amount of money. I'm not talking about just spotting a friend $50 till payday. I'm talking about if you're actually going to borrow a significant amount. If Heather decides to borrow from friends and family, she should approach it as she would any other loan. In short, she should do it formally, which means in writing. She can download a free promissory note online from a variety of sources. We partner with Rocket Lawyer, but if you just do a search for promissory note, you can probably find one that you can use for free. Your library's website might also be a place for something like that. Now, she could also get these loan documents notarized when they're executed. This will show the person who's lending her the money that she's serious about repaying it, as well as protecting both sides if things do get ugly. She should be specific about the repayment terms. Often when people borrow money from us, they'll say, you know what, I'm going to pay you back as soon as possible. Well, that's a term that's vague enough to be interpreted as any time from next week to more likely never. So she needs to spell out what's going to happen, what amount's going to be paid, how often, what's going to happen if she should die. All this stuff's going to be in that promissory note if you can find a free one online, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But, speaking of terms, though, I had to smile. In fact, I laughed a little bit when I read this part of Heather's question. Obviously, they don't charge interest. Really, Heather? Is it obvious that friends or family members shouldn't receive compensation for the risk they're assuming when they lend you money? Well, I'll stop short of saying that a family member should always charge interest. I certainly wouldn't label no-interest loans from friends and family as obvious. Were I to borrow money from friends, family, or anyone else, I'd certainly offer to pay interest. Anyway, let's move on. Finally, the last part of Heather's question was, in how much time should the money be returned, and how much should each payment be? The answer to this? Well, we repay all loans the same way, which is as soon as possible. While the terms you agree to shouldn't require you to pay more than you can comfortably afford, obviously, and thus endanger your ability to meet your obligations, the best place to be when it comes to debt is out from under it. So pay it back as quickly as you can by making as big a payment as you can afford, as you can afford, remember. Okay, you want to make your lender happy that they agreed to help you, right? All right. That covers borrowing from friends and family. Now, how about a few words about lending to friends and family? If you're going to lend to your friends or your family, rule number 1, don't lend money you can't afford to lose. Loaning money is about as safe as playing blackjack. Well, depending obviously on who you're loaning it to. But your best idea is just to say no. Now, I know that's difficult to do, so how about saying something more specific like maybe say, you know what? I have a strict anti-lending rule. I've lost too many relationships this way. Or maybe you'd say, it's just not in my budget. I'm sorry. Or more likely, you might be able to say, you know what? The last time I lent you money, you didn't pay it back, so I can't do it again. I'm sorry. Another idea is to offer help instead of a bailout. For example, offer to help set up a budget. Now, the most important thing you can do, though, is to formulate a policy before you need one. Then you won't have to think on your feet when the situation arises. Maybe you only lend in dire emergencies, or maybe you only lend to people with jobs, or maybe you only lend to relatives and not friends, or perhaps you decide not to lend to anyone under any circumstances. The important thing is to decide on a policy, memorize that policy, practice saying it, and then stick to it with no exceptions. Your response should be immediate, and your response should be firm. Hope that answers your question, Heather. If you got a question of your own out there, I can't answer every one I get, but if you'd like to ask one, all you have to do is hit reply to our daily email newsletter and fire away. If you're not getting our daily email newsletter, well, then go to moneytalksnews.com and subscribe to it. It's free, takes 5 seconds, and you know what? It's going to make you richer. I'm Stacy Johnson. I'll see you right here next time.